Kalkadosh Boker Or. We're going to continue with the Alachot. This is Bekiim Bahalacha 5. This is Siman 40, Siman Mem, Day 86, page 232, Halacha Gimel. We're talking about now hanging the tefillin, but inside the kuracha. So when we're talking about, yesterday we were speaking about the hanging the tefillin when it was just going to be the actual tefillin in itself with the straps, and now we're talking about the kuracha in itself. So he says over here like this. He says, "Mutar litlot hatfilin biyated." You're allowed to come and to hang it in a peg. Keshehem bekisam, when they're going to be in the kuracha, which means they're in the tefillin bags. V'im yesh sal talui bechevel. He says now, if it's going to be that it's going to be hung right by a rope, lianiach tefillin betoch hasal. Don't put it inside of a basket. Given shehem gluyim ve'ena munachim bekisam. But then again, they're not going to be covered in its tefillin bag. So it has to be basically in the tefillin bag in order to come and to hang it up. That was halacha gimel, right? If you look in the footnote, it says over here in 319, throwing tefillin through a prison cell window, right? There was once a Hasidic Rebbe that was imprisoned. So somebody came and he threw the tefillin through the window, right? In order that he could be able to fulfill the mitzvah, right? And he said that is there such a permission or not for throwing it in such a case? Obviously he needs to get it, so they have to throw it inside. Right? Alachat Daled says as follows: Sefer Torah asur litoroto afilu bekiso, but a Sefer Torah you're not allowed to hang it even if it's going to be in the kis. Ve'af im Sefer Torah munach betoch bar, right? Betoch baron hakodesh, even if it's going to be inside the Aron HaKodesh, v'toleh Aron HaKodesh. He says, "B'ofen she mechabro b'todol lakotel," that you're coming and you're hanging it up with pegs. Yesh osrim. Some people say that it's going to be asur. Kol she'en omed tachtav davar ma. As long as nothing's going to be beneath it. Ach yesh matirim b'zeh, but some people permit it. Kivan she'Aron HaKodesh mechubar etev b'todol lakir, but it's going to be connected. Ve'eno mitznadned. Right, and it's not going to be mitnadned. Okay, v'sidur. So he comes and he says, right? He says like this. He says, "V'sidur." No. The other one. V'sidurim, right? Dinam ketfilin. So sidurim are going to be like tefillin. Shehem munachim bekis. That it's going to be munachim bakis. Mutar litlotam. It's going to be mutar to hang it up. Ach ena bracha nechshevet lakis. But the bracha is not going to be nechshevet to the kis. The kricha, sorry, is not going to be considered the kis. V'lachen sidurim shekvuim bahem luchot. If you're going to have sidurim, which are going to be that they have these luchot of matechet sheyotzim mehem shashelet shel kesef asur tutan bam, so you can come and you cannot hang them. V'shlatim sheyesh bahem psukim v'tfilot. When you have shlatim, which are these different signs and everything that they have psukim and tfilot, you are allowed to come and to hang them around the Beit HaKnesset. So again, obviously here we're talking about only a Sefer Torah or the tefillin. The tefillin, if it's going to be in the kis, it's mutar. The Sefer Torah, even in the kis, it's going to be asur. Okay, and the sidurim are also going to be, as he said, if it's going to be in the kis, it's mutar. If not, then it's asur. And the shalatim is always going to be mutar. What about now if the tefillin fall? So this is halacha hey. Halacha hey says like this: Mishnaflu lo tefillin miyado. What happens if the tefillin fell off from his hands? Nachon she'itaneh yom echad. It's proper that he should do ta'anit for one day. Ve'atam, right? He comes and he says like this: the reason, right? Ki erulo min hashamayim shetzarich tshuva. They showed him in the Shemayim that he has to do teshuvah. So he says, "Oh, shekemo shmi shenafal sefer Torah miyado itaneh." So the same thing. It's like a sefer Torah falling. You have to do ta'anit. Kach yesh lo litano k'shafulu lo tefillin miyado. The same halacha would apply to the tefillin. Vehu al ma shenibazu tefillin min nefilatan, and that's because there was a disgrace that it fell. Vehu garama zilzul, and he's causing the zilzul. Bekach shelo shamran yafeh, that he didn't watch it over it very properly. Lachen nahagu litanot lechaper avon. So therefore, we have a minhag. Right? We didn't speak about the ticket. We're just talking about the actual tefillin. Okay, so therefore we're talking about that if it's going to fall the tefillin, so you have to do a ta'anit. Okay, we're going to speak about if it's going to be a short distance or if it's going to be, with all the other things. We're going to speak about tomorrow. Says the footnote 322. Yeah, there's no mention fasting for dropping one's tefillin in the Gemara or in any of the Rishonim. Okay, it comes out from a custom of Rav Yisrael of Brona, who explained that when this happens, it's a sign from the Shamayim that he has to come and he has to do teshuvah. Okay, so he comes and he says this issue was also mentioned in Shvetei Shemuel by the Knesset Dolan and Magen Avraham, written less than 500 years ago. He says that tefillin, since they're kodesh, so therefore you have to be very, very careful with them. So if you drop the tefillin, right, you're going to have to come and you're going to have to fast. Now he says, what happens if someone witnesses it's falling? So he says, if you witness a Sefer Torah scroll or tefillin destroyed by an arsonist, you have to come and tear your clothing. Mamash, you have to do kriya. So imagine somebody sees somebody take a sefer Torah and destroy it. He has to do kriya. He has to come and he has to destroy, right? He has to tear his clothing. Okay, since this passage is equated to tefillin to Sever Torah. So the same applies to the tefillin. The Mishabura therefore wrote that the common is the common custom is to fast. Okay, the Knesset Gdula also used a similar expression the same way. The interesting thing is that there's no source in the Gemara that if one has to fast if the Sefer Torah falls. Mishvadesh will put this way: is there any doubt that someone who dropped right a Torah scroll, he says, would fast or not? So he says that Rav Chida says there's no real source brought down for the custom of dropping it. He says, right, he added, despite the lack of the source, it has become universal that they come and they do ta'anit. What about to have the tefillin, right? What happens if they have the tefillin examined or not? So Rabbi Yonatan Steif writes that when it falls on the floor, it's recommended to check it. But it might be that it's a siman min hashamayim, that there's a need for repair. So therefore, when something happens, you should check it. Yeah, out of the pouch. Out of the pouch. That's what we're talking about. So the response to Shagamai likewise also said the same thing. If a mezuzah falls on the floor, check the mezuzah. Yeah. The response also of Astaka Dania also asserted that's a custom to have the tefillins check if they fall on the floor, right? So therefore they check it. So all these things, obviously, it's very, very important because it could be that it's a siman min hashamayim that this is what they have to do.